Shut up and sit down.
Hello everybody! I'm your host Mr. Joe-verrated and welcome back to Trip Around the Block. Let me just speed through explaining how this series works real quick, in case you didn't see the first episode.
This is a series where we take an upcoming film or TV show and try to connect it to another project that it mimics from the past, using some of my favourite actors and directors as the stepping stones to get there. Bear in mind that this is not about the quickest route to connect two projects together, but instead, it's the pathway that contains some of the greatest movies of all time, and some right shit stains of movies too, which is far more interesting. We're also going to be reviewing the movies that we cover along the way, in order to let you guys know what my thoughts are on them, and see if you might want to go see them yourselves, if you haven't already, which you probably have. Okay, now that's out of the way. Excuse me, sound guy, you need to change my voice back now.
Testing? Oh, we're back to being nasally as usual. Anyway, if you still didn't understand, then go check out the first episode in the link below. I mean if you want to. And subscribe too, or there'll be serious consequences. I'll do this to all your hired henchmen. Yeah, now you're scared. If you were a 90s kid like me, then Harry Potter was probably a big part of your childhood. Unless you were one of those guys who only ever watched George of the Jungle repeats all day. Bloody weirdos. In many ways, the Wizarding World was a place I could escape to whenever I wanted. Whether it was the books or the movies, Hogwarts felt very much like my second home. That's until you realised you'd be hard-pressed to fit one of your legs inside the corridors. I mean, look how small the castle is compared to a regular man. Oh, I'd never be able to fit into one of those four-poster tiny wizard beds. Anyway, when I found out that J.K. Rowling was extending her magical universe on screen, I was so excited that I think a little bit of Wii came out. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was originally written by J.K. Rowling and released in 2001 in order to flesh out the world that our heroes lived in. However, it's also a book that exists within the realm that our characters live in. For instance, it features as one of the books on Harry's first year supply list, existing in that world in the same way that books like The Lord of the Rings and 50 Shades of Grey exist in ours. Or any books, to be honest. That was just a weird choice from me. But now, due to all of the Harry Potter films being amongst the highest grossing in the history of their company, Warner Brothers is delving into their magic hats once again to bring us this spin-off adventure on the big screen, and I cannot bloody wait. So, that's the trip that we've planned out today. How do you get from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them to the Harry Potter series? Interestingly, the movie adaptation of Fantastic Beasts stars Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, but for our first link, we're choosing the character from the trailers that looks to be the big bad of the movie, and that's Percival Graves, otherwise known as the Director of Magical Security at the Magical Congress of the United States of America, played by Colin Farrell. Now, Farrell is an awesome actor, but for some reason or other, he seems to be in a lot of bad movies. One of my favourite Colin Farrell movies, however, is the hitman comedy In Bruges. If you haven't seen that film, I definitely recommend it. As well as 2015's The Lobster, in which Farrell displayed an excellent performance as well. But the Colin Farrell role that I'm choosing is that of Danny Whitwer in Minority Report. Steven Spielberg's 2002 action thriller opens in Washington DC in the year 2054, when an experimental policing program called Pre-Crime is being tested. Using 3 mutated humans, called Precogs, who can visualize the future, police are then able to apprehend criminals before they have a chance to commit their crimes, dropping the murder rate in the District of Columbia to 0. After the captain of the pre-crime program, John Anderton, is seen by the precogs committing a murder, it's then up to Colin Farrell and his team to find him before he is destined to kill his target. For some reason, Steven Spielberg's sci-fi adventures are some of my favourite movies from him. And although you have the classics like E.T. and Close Encounters, I also really enjoyed some of his more unpopular movies in this genre, like AI and War of the Worlds. But I did see War of the Worlds when I was 7, and let's be honest, everything's awesome when you're 7. I can remember watching the Ice Cube movie Are We There Yet a few weeks previously, and it being one of the highlights of my life. I think the thing about this movie that struck me the most was that the future of 2054 didn't look too unattainable from where we are now. Unlike films like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, set in the distant future of 2019. Forget about the flying cars, where's the bloody giant Coke advert, Ridley? Huh? Huh? Ridley me that. Get it? It's like riddle. Anyways, solid movie, 9 out of 10. Oh yeah, by the way, Tom Cruise is great in that movie too. Did I forget to talk about his performance? Or was I just using that as a shitty segue to get to another Tom Cruise movie? I'll leave that up to you. Mysterious. Tom Cruise has done a lot of movies over his career. And despite how well or not so well received a movie is, one thing remains constant, and that's the level of Cruise's performance. Although some of his earlier work was some of the best he's ever produced, in films like A Few Good Men, Rain Man and Jerry Maguire, the film that I'm choosing to nudge closer to the Harry Potter series is Edge of Tomorrow, or Live Die Repeat, or whatever they renamed it in the end.
In this movie, Cruise stars as Major William Cage, a public affairs officer for the United Defense Force, who is demoted to the rank of private, trying to blackmail the General Bingham, after being ordered to cover a live battle against alien species known as mimics that have taken over most of Europe. After being subdued by a taser, by General Bingham's request, he wakes up at Heathrow Airport, the base of the UDF, before being flown over to France to fight in the battle as a foot soldier, but is soon killed on the battlefield, taking one of the larger mimics with him, causing him to relive that same day over and over again.
I don't know why I just explained all of that, to be honest. I could have just said Groundhog Day with guns and you all would have understood. What a waste of everyone's time. The way that the movie addresses reliving the same day is never boring or repetitive, which is something that I was concerned about before seeing it, but instead focuses on Cruise's frustrations to great comedic effect. The standout performance in this movie for me, however, was by far Emily Blunt. This was the movie, I feel, that really defined her as the badass we know and love today. Her and Cruise had great chemistry together, which really benefited the movie, particularly in the scenes where the pair are training and preparing for what's to come on the battlefield, giving the story a much lighter feel. Overall, this was one of the best action-adventure movies I've seen over the past few years, giving Edge of Tomorrow a 9.2 out of 10. Moving on with Emily Blunt, who I really enjoyed. I believe the correct grammar is whom I really enjoyed. Oh, yep. Thanks again, ominous voice. I mean, if you're gonna be a bloody nerd, then at least be factually accurate, eh? Moving on with Emily Blunt, whom I really enjoyed in time jump film Looper, and I'm really looking forward to seeing in the thriller The Girl on the Train. I'm choosing another movie in which she got to flex her action guns, and I'm not talking about those bad boys. Boom! And that's Sicario. Sicario deals with the build-up of violent drug-related incidents between the border of the United States and Mexico. After Emily Blunt's character, Kate Mesa, has members of her kidnap response unit killed in a bomb blast. Boom! Oops, sorry, wrong explosion. She's recruited by CIA agent. That's really hard to say. CIA agent. She's recruited by CIA agent Matt Graver, played by Josh Brolin, to tackle the drug cartel responsible for the incident. This film is thrilling from start to finish, constantly building tension by making the audience wait for action that really packs a punch when it hits. The two I've already mentioned were both great, but Benicio del Toro's Alejandro was incredible in the short amount of time that we spent with the character. And if I had one notable gripe with the screenplay, it was that we didn't get enough time to fully develop the most interesting character, in my opinion. Having said that, I think this was still a real edge-of-your-seat movie, and I'm going to give it an 8.4. Using Josh Brolin to continue our connections, despite his great performances in movies like True Grit and American Gangster, I'm choosing the second movie that I ever saw him act in, after The Goonies of course, and that's the Coen Brothers classic, No Country for Old Men. After some pretty sweet Tommy Lee Jones narration, No Country for Old Men opens with Brolin's Llewellyn Moss stumbling across a drugs for cash exchange gone horribly wrong, where everyone's dead. Rather than alert the appropriate authorities, which I must say I would have done as an upstanding citizen, he decides to take the $2 million at the scene for himself. This puts him on the radar of psychopathic killer Anton Sugar. No, wait, I mean Sugar. Anton Sugar. Anton Sugar sounds more like an 80s mustachioed porn star, to be honest. Nope, hang on, wait, that's Magnum P.I. And also exactly what I imagined Anton Sugar to look like, so... Played by Javier Bardem. Anyway, Sugar won't rest until he's retrieved the money, killing every single person even mildly related to the case. And it does turn out that Tommy Lee Jones does in fact play a real person in this movie. Near retirement, small town sheriff Ed Tom Bell, and not just a disembodied voice. The sheriff is in pursuit of both the money and the psychopathic killer, following the trail of bodies he leaves behind. All three of these lead actors turned in solid performances, but it's Bardem's bone-chilling work as the complete nutjob that really sticks with you after finishing the movie. He's for certain one of the greatest movie villains ever seen on screen. His seemingly stone-cold demeanour allows him to leave who he murders up to chance by the flip of a coin toss, as taking life is not something that even remotely matters to him. The realism in the performances and the gripping storytelling that takes its time in allowing the audience to settle into the environment that the Coens have created for us gives No Country a 9.6 out of 10. Since No Country's release in 2007, Javier Bardem has gone on to star as a murderous lunatic on a number of occasions. Most notably, however, in his role as Felipe in Eat, Pray, Love. Nope, no wait, that's completely false, actually. Most notably, however, as 007's nemesis, Raul Silva, in Skyfall. Skyfall opens in the middle of the action when Daniel Craig's Bond is shot through the shoulder, plummeting 50 feet off a moving train into a river. No way, mate! Which one of the bad guys shot him? None of them! It was his own Miss Moneypenny. When Bond is presumed dead, back in London, MI6 is attacked, forcing the agency to retreat underground, while tackling one of their biggest threats yet, the illustrious Silva, who has lethal intentions and a pretty messed up face, as well as a very complex supervillain plan that involves getting himself Why is it that all supervillains want to be captured? I have no idea. But then again, I guess I don't have the mind of a megalomaniac. Or do I? This is one of my favourite Bond movies in the Daniel Craig era. Craig is great as Bond once again, really embodying the characteristics of the super spy. Dame Judi Dench, or Jules D as I like to call her, as the character who is always frowning in this series. M, who was amazing as ever. Their little road trip up to Scotland was a lot of fun for me. Just make the music a bit bouncier. There we go. And you could have a nice little mother-son bonding movie. I can't really say anything about this movie that hasn't already been said before. You guys all know it's great. Well, unless you don't. That's up to you, really. Regardless, I'm giving this film an 8.8. Oh yeah. Do you know who else was in that film? None other than everyone's favourite Dark Lord, Ralph Fiennes. We've done it, everyone.
Why are those children so happy? This has nothing to do with them.
That's how you connect the upcoming Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them to the original Harry Potter series. Interestingly, if you'd like to help the channel out, then hit subscribe. I mean, if you feel like it. Let me know what you thought about the video by leaving a comment, if you got the time, and possibly leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and you care to. Or don't do any of that. It's your life, and quite frankly, I don't want to tell you what to do. Anyway, join me next time when we take another trip around the block. I've been your host, Mr. Joe-verrated. Have a good one, YouTube.